recorded. I won't use it. I won't use it against you. Or in any way. We're gonna start in child's pose today. I'm using a different view because I have a project set out on the other side of the room, and if I move it, it might never get done. So sit back with your feet together, toes together, knees wide, sink back on those heels for a moment, and then slide your hands forward, your arms forward. Let your forehead rest on the floor or the mat. Just relax into this child's pose to start. Let your breathing slow down. Go ahead and spread those fingers wide. Press your palms into the mat. Lift that forehead off the mat. Let your lats get that nice stretch by rounding your back, at least rounding your upper back. Shake your head no if your neck tries to do some work or some engagement. Not invited into this. You're also welcome to kind of just do ear to bicep to keep it moving so that it doesn't engage. Go ahead and let your face relax toward the floor again. Walk those hands over to the right side, stack left hand on top of right, push, and hold a static hold into that left lat, or you can pulse into it. Walk those hands through center, over to the left. Stack right hand on top of left hand. Take that same little pose to the left side, either pulsing into that right lat or holding it static, wherever works for you. Just giving yourself a nice stretch through that right side. And then come back to center. We're going to go ahead and come to a seated position to get you out of that child's pose for a bit. I don't want anyone's knees or anything to get angry with me while we're in it, or angry with them. Sitting up tall, I feel off center in this position. Sitting up tall in that seated position, I want you to hunch your shoulders up to your ears as much as you can, kind of like the opposite of what we always say. And then exhale and drop them down like someone's pushing down on those shoulders. Really dropping those shoulders down. And then relax your stance a little bit. Turn to the left, right hand to left leg, left hand behind you, big twist to the left and listen to the right. Holding that twist. And then twisting through center over to the left. Right hand behind you, left hand to right leg, keeping that neck and spine stacked. Go ahead and come back to center. We're going to just walk those hands forward and fold forward. Don't press into this too hard. Don't like try to make it your biggest reach forward. Just stop where you stop. Press that left hand into the ground. Lift up the right arm so that your palm stays facing the ground and that your chest is still facing the ground. You're not opening up like you're swimming or anything. You're just lifting up that arm, kind of engaging that shoulder. Shake your head no slowly if your neck tries to get involved. And then set that right hand down. Go ahead and do that on the left. Left arm is raised, like you're just reaching for something, just out of reach. Palm is facing down, chest is centered toward the floor. And then set that hand down. Go ahead and drag those hands back. Take them behind you. Open that chest. You can drop your head back and tilt your, like, oh, close your eyes or stare at the ceiling if you want, or kind of look back, whatever works for your eyes. You also don't have to take a big drop back with that head. Sometimes it doesn't feel nice on everyone's neck. Just open that chest, squeeze those shoulder blades together. And then go ahead and release that. Give your hands a little shake. Give me some shoulder circles. Got about 10 counts. I'm not going to count. You can just do as many circles as you want to kind of get those done. You can do some crosses and kind of pause and grab. Just kind of work out whatever you need for your shoulders right now. And then we'll get to more of that in a moment. When you are done with those, you can meet me in a tabletop position. But take your time, everyone. Once we're in a tabletop with wrists under shoulders, knees under hips, go ahead and drop the belly, drop the chest, lift the head and the sit bones for one slow cow position. We'll just be holding this. We're going to be doing 3 slow ones and then 3 matching breath to movement. So a cat cow, not just cow. As that belly sinks, just let it. And then go ahead, round the back, tuck the chin for cat pose. Excuse me. Go ahead and drop that head toward the ground, right, round that upper back or all of your back, press away from the floor for cat's pose. I felt that sneeze coming the whole time we were in cow and it wouldn't come out. Go ahead and drop the belly, drop the chest, slowly transition to cow pose. If you want to sway a little bit in this with your hips, you can. You don't have to stay completely still. Whatever feels good for you today. And then around the back, drop that head toward the floor again for another cat. You can kind of call those hands up if you'd like, lifting them, maybe keeping them straight and reaching those fingers, whatever feels good for you today. If holding it static isn't your thing. Drop the belly, drop the chest. Last cow that you're going to hold for a moment. Lifting those sit bones. Again, you don't always have to look up with your eyes. Sometimes I think it's nicer to close your eyes and just lift your head. And slowly transition to cat pose. Really spread those shoulder blades, push those hands into the floor. Suck that belly button to the spine. And then we're going to match breath to movement. So inhale, cow pose. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, cat. One last round. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, cat. Come back to the neutral. Press some weight into that right hand. Open up your left arm to the side. Reach underneath the left cheek or left temple to the ground for thread the needle. Oh, being on a different side of the room, I can see what's under the radiator. Nice. I'm going to fix that afterward. Just reaching beyond with that left hand, giving yourself a nice twist. Make sure that right hip doesn't lean too much to the side. Go ahead and put some weight into that right hand, press into it. Open up the left arm, open to the side. Set that one down. Go ahead and put some weight into that left hand. Open up your right arm to the side. Big opening across that chest. Weave it underneath. or thread the needle on this side. Press into the floor with your left hand. You can take any of the hand positions you'd like with that free hand, so it's not under you. Always a little reminder that you can do that. Just breathe with that right cheek on the mat. Holding for 3, 2, and 1. Press that left hand into the mat. Lift up, open that right arm across the chest. Set that right hand down. Go ahead and get lined up again because you're going to do a high plank. So hands, wrists under shoulders, set those feet back. Keep your feet kind of hips width apart or somewhere between that and the edges of the mat for stability. Keep those abs engaged and your hips lifted. And hold your high plank for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Gently press back to a downward dog. Pedal out, whatever you'd like today for that, whether it's pedal or sway or stay still. We won't be here for a long time, but press the belly and chest toward the thighs, head between biceps. Holding for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Take a look at your hands. Tiptoe those feet in toward your hands. Separate your feet to hips width, to the mat edges. Keep your toes forward. Keep your hands or fingertips on the ground, or fingers, whatever works for you. Go ahead and just sit that butt back like you're going to do a squat, or you're pausing with your legs at about 90. And then straighten up those legs again. Go ahead and sit back into that squat, maybe a little deeper this time, really sinking the weight into your heels. And then straighten those legs, heel toe those feet to about hips width apart. Slowly roll up to standing, head being the last thing to come up. Find your mountain pose. Toes forward, abs engaged, palms forward. Shoulders down. Find something to stare at, kind of gather your balance since we were upside down. Sweep those arms overhead. Grab your left wrist with your right hand, bend over to the right side. If you want, you can kind of look up. You can also keep your chest forward, but you can kind of turn that chest up. Do what feels good for you. If that feels terrible to kind of lift up a little, don't do it. Use those abs to stand up. Grab your right wrist. With your left hand, bend over to the left. Big side bend. Again, you can keep that chest totally forward, or you can lift up a little bit. And giving yourself a little facing of the ceiling. And use those abs to stand up. Lift up those arms to the sky, to the ceiling. Dive down to a forward fold. Lift up to a flat back. Bend the knees, plant the hands, hop, step, or jump up to a plank. Lower to the floor or your chaturanga. Push up to cobra or up dog. Push back to downward dog. Hold that. You can rock on those toes. Kind of give yourself that little calf stretch and calf strengthening, whatever feels good for you. Almost like you're going to launch off those toes. Or you can stay static, pressing that belly and chest toward those thighs. Sometimes it's just nicer to move in these positions. There's days for moving, there's days for staying still. Take a look at your hands, hop, step, or jump to the top of that mat. Lift up to a flat back, neck is long, top of the head's pointing forward. Take a big forward fold, bend your knees, grab behind those legs, give your legs a hug. Slowly roll up to standing, spine curling, spine curving. Head is the last thing to come up. Find your mountain pose. Pose forward. Abs engaged, tailbone tucked. Sweep those arms overhead. Cactus them down. Pull those elbows behind your chest if you can. Keeping that chest open, keeping that tailbone a little bit tucked and abs engaged so you're not all of a sudden sticking out things and doing this sway back position. Send those arms up to the sky again, dive down to a forward fold. Lift up to a flat back. Bend the knees, plant the hands, hop, step, or jump back to a plank. Reach over into a right side plank. I don't know where that came from. So whatever right side plank you'd like. You can have your right knee down. You can have that front leg bent. Feet stacked or staggered. Just keep those hips lifted. And your shoulder over your hand. For 4, 3, 2, 1. Set that left hand down. Roll over onto your left side plank. Same instruction, different side. Left hip lifted, right arm stacked, left shoulder over left hand. Chest open to the side. And all of you look good. Take a look at the ground. Go ahead and lower down. Go ahead and take those knees to your widest child's pose. Sink your face toward the mat. If it's wider than the mat, if your knees are wider than your mat, that's fine. You can even stack your arms on top of one another and rest your forehead. Just a little break before we get into a brief standing pose sequence. Go ahead and take those hands, press up onto them. Instead of coming all the way into a tabletop and pausing, just leave your right knee down, step your left foot forward, come into a low lunge. Lift up. You don't have to have your knees completely 90-90. I'm kind of at an angle. So if you want to have your back leg longer, you can do that. If you want to go for like a straight 90-90, go for it. I just want you to fix your hips so that you don't feel like your right hip is like really low. Because sometimes when your legs are 90-90, the left hip kind of like lifts up and the right hip kind of sinks. So fix those hips so that you're even. And then engage your legs and your glutes. Hands on hips for a moment. Kind of feel where you are, get really stable. If you need to walk that left foot out a little bit to even out your stance, that's fine. And then go ahead and take your hands to heart center and twist to the left. Right elbow is going to hook on the outside of that left leg. I was like, what is this thing called? What is this thing? Really keeping that nice twist. If you're feeling like you want a little balance, you can tuck those right toes and slowly lift that right knee up, but you do not have to. And really engage that right leg if you do, but totally optional. Go ahead and twist back toward the floor. Set that right hand down. This time, do tuck your toes. Lift your right knee. Lift your left leg arm. Left arm up. Take it behind your lower back and open up that chest toward the left for a half bind in that low revolve lunge or high revolve lunge. If you don't like the bind, you can take your hand to your hip or to your lower back. And then go ahead and turn back toward the floor, set those hands down, step your left foot back, hold that high plank. We're going to do a little bit of core in between. Go ahead and lower down carefully, hips square to the floor for your forearm plank. Walk your feet out to the edges of the mat for a moment, or kind of close to that. Walk back up to a high plank, keeping those hips pretty squared. Carefully lower back down to a forearm plank. Keep those abs engaged. Press back up to a high plank. Go ahead and set your knees down. Go ahead and step your right foot forward for the low lunge on this side. Right toes forward, left knee down. Hands on hips turn out, even out those hips again. Make sure the left hip is not lower than the right. You're not leaning to the left. Walk your right foot out to the side a little bit if that helps with it. It usually does, gives you a little space for that. Engage those glutes, those legs. Take your hands to heart center. Twist to the right. Left elbow on the outside of the right leg. Give yourself that nice twist. Twist back toward the floor. Set that left hand down or left fingertips or prop or book or whatever you have here. Lift that left or tuck the left toes, lift the left knee. Open up to that right side, revolve type lunge. Back, take the right hand to your lower back or to your hip, or reach around for that half bind. Taking that nice twist, kind of giving your shoulders some flossy motion. I feel like all this like wrapping behind, that's some nice opening back there, getting things moving. And then go ahead and take that hand back to the ground. Step your left foot up by your right foot. Heel toe those feet to hips width apart. Lift up into a chair pose. So sit back into those heels. Give yourself a little bend at the knee. Tailbone is slightly tucked. Hands are at heart center, or you can lift them up, reaching to the sky with your biceps by your ears. Just square those shoulders and make sure that they are engaged, but not reaching up to the ears. Holding this chair pose. For 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and stand up. Go ahead and give your legs a little shake. We're going to do some forward folds from that straddle position. So right foot's going to stay where it is. You're going to step that left foot open, big wide straddle. As wide as you want it to be, let's be honest. Don't do like your widest one if you don't think you can fold forward in it today. So hands to hips. Find a good spot to focus on the floor so that when you fold forward, starting to do that now, hinging at the hip, you're pretty focused and you feel stable. Take your hands to the floor. Walk them back in line with those toes. Make sure everything is on one nice line. Point the top of your head at the floor. Bend your knees as much as you need to. You can bend into those knees if you'd like and make this a little bit of a dynamic stretch, because it's a tiny, tiny knee bend. If you're moving, go ahead and pause in that center. Give me one good stretch, one good pull here. And then walk those hands over to the left leg, lift up, grab onto that left leg, lift up your torso. You can kind of have that torso as a flat back again. Yep, just giving you that nice lengthening on the right and a little crunch on the left. And a pretty nice little hamstring stretch in the back of the left leg. Walk those hands to center. Keep the right one right under your face. Open up the left one to the side. Twist in your wide-legged standing forward fold. Go ahead and set that left hand down. Walk your hands over to your right leg. Grab onto that right leg. Torso's coming with your own hands and arms. Lift up to that flat back again, giving yourself that nice little lengthening on the left. Crunch on the right, little hammy stretch on the right. Walk back to center. Left hand's going to be right under the face. Right arm is going to open up to that side, giving you that nice twist through your wide-legged forward fold. Go ahead and set that right hand down. Walk your hands back in, lift up a little bit to flat back, really press those feet into the mat. Engage your abs, slowly curl up to standing. Head's the last thing again. We're gonna do one more forward fold. But I want you to take your hands behind you, clasp them, open that chest, tilt your head back only as much as is comfortable for you. Really squeeze those shoulder blades together. And then slowly fold forward. I recommend bringing your head back to normal and not tilting it back so that you have a place to spot on the floor as you do. Keep those hands behind your lower back, point the top of the head at the floor, and let those hands float away from the body. You can leave them on your lower back. If you float them away from the body, you can also lift those shoulders away from the ears and give yourself that extra shoulder and chest stretch / opening. Go ahead and release those arms. Take your hands to the ground. Go ahead and bend into that left knee. Keep your right leg straight. Take this little half lunge, half squat on the left, however you want. We're going to do these and hold them, but we're going to kind of move through a little warm up to them. So my heel is slightly lifted on the left. It's fine if yours is lifted a lot, lifted a little, lifted not at all. Use your hands, walk yourself over to squat into that right side or lunge into that right side. Again, doesn't matter what your heel is doing. You're using your hands to support yourself at the moment. We're going to move through a few of these side to side, move back to the left carefully. Maybe your heel gets closer to the ground each time, maybe it doesn't. Walk those hands back over to the right side lunge, or I never know if to call this a lunge or a squat. Lungy squat. Last little movement through here to the left side. Right leg, right heel on the ground. Move back over to the right. Maybe you start feeling like you want to float your hands up or they're doing less work. And then transition back over to the left. This time, hold your version of this, whether you want to keep your knee at 90 degrees and just sit your bum back, or if you want to take the full side lunge, the name escaping me right now in Sanskrit, or if you want to keep your hands on the floor, heel raised, whatever your big version of this is today. This is one that can, I think, change from day to day. Everyone looks great. It's a big squat. Holding for another 3, 2, and 1. Put those hands down, press into them. Over to the other side. Settling yourself into that, being okay with if it's different than your left side. Looking great. I still struggle with this one, so I'm impressed with everyone's lungy squat. Holding for 3, 2, and 1. Put those hands on the ground. Press yourself to that center. Go ahead and walk your feet in a little bit. Turn your heels in and your toes out. Find some balance. Press those feet into the ground. Start to curve that spine up. Standing up carefully. Doing what you need to do. Get a sip of water if you have that nearby and need it. We're going to do a goddess squat to get that back straight, and then we're going to do a yogi squat. So go ahead with your feet ready for goddess squat. You can have them on your hips, you can have them resting on your legs, or you can do heart center. Slowly lower that back down the wall or pretend that you're doing that. Knees over ankles. Separate them out if you need to. Lowering into that squat. Taking whatever position works for your hands. Say, if you want to get fancy and do that, go for it. I'm not going to. Press those knees open, open those hips, squeeze those glutes. They're all doing a lot of work for us today in this position. We're not even going to do heel raises today. For another 3, come out whenever you want, but we're coming out in 4, 3, 2, and 1. Slowly stand up. Walk your feet in together a little bit. Just take your hands to your hips. Give me some circles. in one direction and then in the other direction. And then have those feet, same turnout, a little bit narrower stance. Go ahead and lower into your squatty squat, your yogi squat. And I'll time this one. Sitting up tall, kind of just finding a little place where you feel like you're resting, because this one isn't. Everyone's squat is low enough here where I feel like this is fairly comfortable for you all. And I know it probably took us all a while to get there, whether you remember it or not. Just holding, trying to put the weight in the heels and not let the toes curl up off the mat. Looking great, all of you. Everyone has such good squats. So impressed. For another 4, 3, 2, and 1. Take those hands to the floor. Straighten your legs. Give yourself the wavy legs, kind of pressing in to each foot, bending your knee. Using your hands as just a connection to the floor to keep you from falling over as you sway. And then go ahead and walk those hands over to whatever end of the mat you prefer and lower to your belly for neck stretch time. Move all my stuff. We're going to start on our right side cheek, so face, right side of face toward mat. Right arm is either coming straight out of that arm socket, or is at an angle, or is goal posted. Remember, the goal post is the most intense version. Left hand is pressing into the mat. Go ahead and roll over onto that left, on that right side. Left leg is either hanging out in the air or stacked on top of your right leg, or maybe it finds the floor. Go ahead and roll into your belly. Go ahead and just give yourself a little rest. We're going to do 2 on this side and then flip to the other side today. Just let that right little connection between your arm and chest and shoulder rest for a moment. Go ahead and choose your arm position, whether you want to do the same one or a different one. Roll over onto that right side, press the floor away from you, or press yourself away from the floor with the left hand. Left leg staggers or finds the floor, giving that right chest, armpit, arm a good little stretch. And release. Roll over. If you want to move over to the other side of your mat to give yourself space, do that. But have your left cheek and temple on the mat. Choose your arm position for your left side, whether that's straight, angled, or goal posted. Right hand is pressing into the floor. Roll over onto that left side. Right leg hanging out in the air or finding the floor, or just kind of stacked on top of that left leg. Any of those is correct. Go ahead and roll back onto your belly. Find yourself a little rest for a moment on that left cheek. Go ahead and take your left arm, find your next arm position. It can be the same or different. Go ahead and roll over into that left side one more time, pressing yourself away from the floor with the right palm. Giving yourself a nice stretch in the chest, arm, shoulder, pec connection, all those things. Pop other things as you see fit, like ankles. And then roll back onto your belly. Whoa, get those arms in your Sphinx pose. Remind them they're not stuck in that position forever. Just let yourself be in a relaxed Sphinx for now. It's like chill Sphinx. You're just letting your shoulders sink. You're not worrying about what anything is doing. Just kind of resetting your back from being in the twisty little thing we just did. Make sure your palms are down, your fingers are spread wide, your arms are parallel. Start to lift up out of your shoulders, kind of like sliding them down your back, making space between your ears and your shoulders. So you feel that lower back getting a little bent. Engage your abs by pushing them into the floor, lifting up with those shoulders and chest a little bit more. You feel that lower back get a little more stretch. Or if you want to do it one more time, push those abs into the floor, give yourself that little lower back bend, turn off your glutes. Oh my gosh, my hair is tickling my face. Sorry. Lift up out of the shoulders, open that chest, holding for 4, really feeling that lower back stretch. 3, 2, and 1. Lower down, take your right cheek to the mat this time. Go ahead and start to slide your hands kind of by mid-rib or somewhere between your ribs and your shoulders. Palms are down. Elbows are away from the ears. Sorry, shoulders away from the ears. Elbows are pointing backward. They're not like way out to the side like chicken wing arms. With your face turned toward the mat and just floating above. Exhale, kind of drop everything down. Inhale, push up to your cobra. Kind of mostly lift that chest and shoulders open. Try not to have too much in your glutes. I know that's easier said than done. They're going to do a little bit of work, but let's try not to make them do all the work. Same with your hands. For 3, 2, and 1. Lower down, left cheek to the mat. Arms can go by your side. Palms up, fingers pointing toward your toes. One last back pose here. Face is going to hover above the mat. Palms are facing up, like I said, facing the ceiling. Lift the head off the mat, lift the shoulders and chest off the mat. Lift the feet, lift the hands. Take your locust pose. Holding this nice locust, squeezing everything on the back of the body. See if we can squeeze the shoulder blades together a little bit. You do not have to tilt your head back. You can just kind of stare at the mat. Holding this for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lower down. Go ahead and windshield wiper those legs, right cheek to mat. Egg beater them, circle them, whatever you prefer for your lower back. And then go ahead. press up to a child's pose. Maybe knees are halfway between touching and being at the sides of the mat. Send those arms long in front of you. Or sorry, stack your arms and let your forehead rest on them to give yourself a gentler child's pose, kind of make that back reset. If you want to, you can round that back and lift your glutes off of your heels, just to give you that little reset, little bend in the other direction. And relax it down if you're still in it. Rest here for a moment. Go ahead, roll onto your back for a little bit of hip openers in a gentle way. Once you're on your back, go ahead and cross with your feet flat, cross left leg over right leg above the knee. Hug your knees into your chest, grab onto your feet or ankles, whatever is accessible to you. Lay back down and pull those legs toward you. Give those hips a nice little wake up on the outside. Just breathe. I know this is not super comfortable. And then release that. Take your feet flat, knees over ankles, palms on the mat beside you or just out to the sides. Engage those glutes, lift those hips up to the ceiling, bringing chest to chin for a bridge pose. Slowly lower the back down the mat. Cross your right leg over your left leg above the knee. Hug those knees into your chest. Lift up, grab onto your feet or ankles or whatever's accessible to you. Lay back down, pulling those feet towards you. Noticing if one side's a lot different than the other. One hip is way tighter than the other. Giving the outside of those hips and those glutes a little wake up. Go ahead and release those legs. Set your feet back down, knees over your ankles, hands by your side, press those feet into the mat, engage the glutes, roll up into another bridge pose, bringing chest toward chin. Squeeze those glutes, hamstrings, and what's the other one? Quads. Go ahead and lower back down to the mat. Bring your knees together, feet wide. Let the lower back rest. As you're in this position, you can take your right hand up with fingers facing the ceiling, palm facing away from you, so facing forward. Hug it across the chest, grab it with your left arm and give yourself that deltoid stretch. It's a little bit less intense on the floor. Your hand's also trying to like fall towards your face, but it still gives you that deltoid stretch. Keeping your legs where they are. Go ahead and release that right arm. Left arm is up, fingers pointing to the ceiling, palm facing away from you. Reach it across your chest, catch it with that right arm. Give yourself that deltoid stretch on the left side, hugging your arm into your chest. with that right arm. And release that. Go ahead and bring your feet back to bridge pose position. That's good enough. Go ahead and take both hands reaching up to the ceiling. You can have your palms facing whatever way because they're going to do what they need to do on the next direction. Cross right arm over left arm above the elbow. Lift them up for that eagle arm pose. So left fingers or left hand is coming into, sorry, right hand or fingers is coming into left hand. And your hands are right by your face. So you can't really see the ceiling, but you're still giving your shoulders that nice engagement, that nice little stretch. You can reach them away from you, kind of like lifting those shoulders out from the floor. But you can also just let them rest on the floor and do this little arm pretzel position.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
No one was talking to you, but anyway. Go ahead and release your eagle arms on that side. Take your arms wide for a moment, palms up, just give them a little relax. We're going to do the other side as well. Lift your arms back up, cross left arm over right arm above the elbow. Right fingertips inside of left palm, I think. What hand is what? The opposite of what you did last time. Actually, she just messed me up, guys. Take the other eagle arms that you did not do. If you want to lift those hands off the, like farther away from your face again, like we did, but like I said before, go ahead and do that. Or just let your eagle arms be right by your face. It's up to you. And then release that. Arms can be out to the side, just relaxing on the floor. Go ahead and drop those knees over to the right, giving yourself that gentle end of class twist. I do have a funny story about watch lady. We're not going to say her name or she'll talk to us again. As you're relaxing in this little flamingo-ish pose or bent knee stretch. When I was at my work retreat, we were talking about things and I don't even remember, but it was about clients, and all of a sudden my boss's watch just said, "It's nice to be right." And we all started laughing. It's like daily affirmations from SIRI. It's nice to be right. Turn those hands so that your palms are pressing into the floor. Use those abs, lift those legs, drop them over to the left. Bent knees or flamingo, your choice today. I'm keeping just both knees bent. Breathing, letting the shoulders start to relax if you feel them crushing up toward your ears. Go ahead and start letting those legs slide straight. Get yourself set up for your Shavasana. Like get everything nearby you, but get your back flat on the mat and grab your feet with knees bent. Give me one good happy baby. Pulling those feet towards you. Rock side to side if you'd like. Bend and straighten. Anything you'd like in this position for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bend your knees into your chest, lift your head and shoulders up, curl yourself into a little ball. And then, since you now probably have all your stuff by you for Shavasana, lengthen out or take your Shavasana pose, whether that's legs at the wall, recline butterfly, set up for bridge. Find your favorite position for that for today. close your eyes if you'd like. Relax your forehead. Relax your area around your eyes. Relax your cheeks and your jaw and your neck. Shrug those shoulders down, make space between your ears and your shoulders, and enjoy a few moments of stillness in your Shavasana. Go ahead and bring some movement back to your fingers and toes. Rotate your wrists and ankles slowly and gently in each direction. Reach overhead and give yourself a big good morning stretch. And relax it back down. Roll over onto one side, using your arm as a pillow for your head. When you're ready, you can press up to a seated position. And thanks everyone for coming tonight. Oh wait, I want to unmute you, not mute you. So hope you are